فعلا. esteemed faculty, distinguished guests and scholars, a very warm welcome to you all. We are delighted to present to you all yet another inspiring session of our distinguished lecture series, an initiative under the Golden Jubilee celebrations of University of Hyderabad and Silver Jubilee of our School of Management Studies. This series has been bringing together visionary leaders and thought pioneers to reflect on the theme, strong yet sustainable, India's march to third largest economy. Today, as we gather for the fifth lecture, we are truly honored to host an eminent academic leader, Professor Madan M. Pillutla, Dean, Professor of Organizational Behavior, ISB, to take us through bridging India's skills and inclusive gaps. Without further ado, I warmly invite our dignitaries to kindly come onto the dais. So please come onto the dais. May I now invite Professor G.V. A.K. Acharyulu, Dean of School of Management Studies, to deliver the welcome address.
So very good morning, respected Vice Chancellor, Professor B.J. Rao, our District Speaker, Professor Madan P. Pillutla, Dean ISB, Hyderabad, Registrar, Controller of Examinations, and Finance Officer, and faculty colleagues, and Deans of other schools, and scholars, guests, and dear students. It's my privilege to welcome you all to the fifth distinguished lecture on bridging India's skills and inclusive gaps as a part of distinguished lecture series. On the occasion of celebrating Golden Jubilee of University of Hyderabad and Silver Jubilee of the School of Management Studies. We are indeed honored to have Professor Pillutla with us today to share his insights, and we deeply appreciate the presence of our Vice Chancellor, who has been a constant inspiration and guidance, continues to inspire us. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to Professor Lokan Reddy, the coordinator of the Distinguished Lecture Series, whose dedication and commitment have been instrumental in bringing together such eminent thought leaders to engage our academic community. For a period of March 2024 to February 2025, there are 4 distinguished lectures happened. The first one is Professor Bhimraj Mehta, Director IIM Nagpur, outlined India's strategic roadmap to achieve 5 trillion economy. In the second lecture, Dr. P.V.R. Mohan Reddy, founding chairman and board member, emphasized how technology fuels economic engine growth while ensuring sustainability. And third one is Professor Ram Gopal Rao, Vice Chancellor, BITS, Pilani campuses, highlighted the need to unleash India's scientific potential through innovation and barrier-breaking research. And the fourth one, Dr. Jai Prakash Narayan, founder, Lok Sabha movement, stressed on the importance of freedom, prosperity, and inclusion for a stronger democracy and equitable development. The School of Management Studies at the University of Hyderabad, established in May 1999, over the past 25 years, the school has grown to a vibrant academic hub known for excellence in management education, cutting-edge research, and continually strive for excellence in management education, research, training, and consultancy with a multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral, and developmental orientation perspective, and guided by a mission to contribute meaningfully to sectors such as sustainability, entrepreneurship, and digital health, technology, innovation, and supply chain management and industry institute partnerships. The school ethos is deeply rooted in social development and commitment, inclusiveness and diversity. School of Management Studies offers 5 innovative academic programs tailored to meet the following demands of the global and national needs. The school curriculum is contemporary and industry oriented, blending the core managerial concepts and practical case studies. The first program is MBA General, a full-time residential 2-year program, and MBA Healthcare and Hospital Management, unique industry-oriented program launched in the school's decennial year, and MBA Business Analytics introduced in 2017, focusing on data-driven decision-making, and Executive MBA Weekend program launched in 2019, working professionals seeking to upskill, and PhD program from the beginning, fostering advanced research across emerging and interdisciplinary domains. The school also actively organizes management development programs, management faculty development programs, and international national conferences and emerging areas, a research symposia and doctoral workshop to support scholarly activity, collaborative webinar, conferences, workshops to academic and investigators from across the world, forge robust partnership both nationally and internationally to foster innovation and global learning. With these few words, I once again extend warm welcome to Prof. Pillutla and all our distinguished participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for setting the context. May I now request our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor Rao, to be a listener.
Good morning to all of you. I am very happy to see that it is all full with students of future of India. I also want to welcome Madan Garu. Madan is a very distinguished person, all of you know that. I've heard him many times. And one more time, his deeply desired. Now, this is a series of distinguished persons. As you can see, we are maintaining high standard speakers. And the original theme was set by us, which is strong yet sustainable, India's march to the third largest economy. This is the theme. And this theme will continue till we become third largest economy and even beyond. Today, something which Madan Garu has chosen is bridging India's skills. Very hot area. And inclusion gaps. Let me be a little bit prophetic here. India will become third largest economy for sure. Maybe in a year or two. We are already third, fourth. 4 trillion, 4.1, 4.2. To get to third, we need to be 6 trillion. That's easily doable. It will happen within our own university lifetime. The real question is, from third largest economy, how do we become Viksit? That is the real question. That is, in fact, the supplies. We are food surplus now. We are vaccine surplus. We are milk surplus, fruit surplus, even pulses surplus now, as I speak. We were also importing a lot of pulses. We are only fuel deficient. If we can take care of our fuel, technology, and rare earth minerals quickly enough, strategically we become very, very important globally. For all that, you need to be ready. This is the little story I wanted to sort of preface it before Madan Garu takes over. Now over to Madan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful words. Ladies and gentlemen, every lecture in this series has brought us a new perspective, and today's session promises to be no different. Our distinguished speaker is a leader who has not only excelled in academia but also bridge the worlds of research, teaching, and practice. We are very honored to welcome Professor Madan M. Pillutla, Dean and Professor of OB at ISB, a position he has held since July 2021. He holds an undergraduate degree in Mechanical Engineering from BITS Pilani and a postgraduate degree in Personal Management from XLRI Jamshedpur, and has received distinguished alumni awards from both these institutions. He also has a postgraduate degree from University of Illinois and a PhD from the Ivy University of British Columbia. Before joining ISB, Professor spent 22 years as a faculty of London Business School. During his time there, he held several leadership positions, including Deputy Dean of Faculty, Member of Management Board, Member of Executive Committee, and Member of Governing Body. His research broadly focuses on decision-making and negotiations, with emphasis on cognitive and motivational biases in these areas. His research has been published in top-tier academic journals and is widely cited and recognized for its impact. Professor Madan has served on the editorial boards of several leading journals, and he has also served as an editor at the Academy of Management and Organizational Behavior and Human Decision Processes. He has won numerous teaching awards at LTS, where he introduced his popular negotiation selective and led successful executive education programs such as Essentials of Leadership and Negotiation and Influence. Beyond academia, Professor has consulted and conducted corporate trainings for leading global companies such as Nestle, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, etc., as well as multilateral institutions such as UNDP and the Great World Bank. He also serves as the board of on the boards of organizations such as Scient DLM, Dr. Reddy's Institute of Life Sciences, and T-Hub. Today, he will share with us his insights on the topic that is critical to India's growth story, as VC highlighted: bridging India's skills and inclusion gaps. Bridging India's skills and inclusion gaps. Please join me in giving a warm and a loud applause to Professor M. Madan Pillutla. Welcome.
Morning all, can you hear me? So I apologize, I didn't realize this is going to be this large of audience, otherwise I would have brought a PowerPoint, I would have just spoken. But I'll show you a few graphs. I just want to show you a few aids as I'm going to speak. But first of all, I'd like to thank Professor Rao. Thank you so very much for inviting me here. It's an honor, and Professor Acharya, thank you. We in ISB, I'm always grateful to the University of Hyderabad, because whenever I read about people coming here and stealing your land, I know that we were the original stealers, right? So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you allowed that to happen, and I'm grateful that we occupy such a really nice place, and we are your neighbors. So that I want to express my appreciation. I also want to comment on something. I went into a room. I think it was the dean's office where I was. When I went into the dean's office, I noticed something which is very rare, very unique, and I want to congratulate the University of Hyderabad for that. I saw 6 pictures of deans. 3 of them are women. Okay, and this is amazing. I'm really So you look at and you think about, so one of the really important things when we talk about inclusion is the fact that there is not great representation of women in top positions across like different bodies in India. You look across in India, it's simply not there. But here I enter into the room, I see 6 pictures, I see 3 women, I say this is fantastic, it's really good. It's not just symbolic, it's also substantial in the way that this institution has conducted itself. So congratulations. That is it's something that every other institution in India should aim for and aspire for. So what do I want to talk about today? So some of it, and Professor Rao has already kind of preempted, so I can stop and I can just open it up and say let's go for questions now. But let me add some color to the remarks that Professor Rao has made, right? So we look at it and look back at the history of India, and there was a point in time when India as a proportion of the world's GDP was substantial. But this is, if you think about it, this is pre-industrialization, right? So at that point in time, to a very large extent, the GDP of any country was positively and very significantly correlated to the population, because the economic surplus that was generated was not so very much. Industrialization broke that link between population and the GDP of any country. You know this, okay? So this is, you've done economics classes, so you know this particular correlation that's there. So that particular thing which generated the kind of surpluses, so those countries that industrialized, and unfortunately for India, around the time when the rest of the world was industrializing, or the Western world was industrializing, India was under colonial domination, right? So they did not want at that point, it did not suit the purposes of our colonial masters that we industrialized to. So that was part of our problem that was out there. But you looked at and you think about small countries started dominating in terms of economic growth and in terms of proportion of the world's GDP. Another such revolution is happening now. Okay, so and I don't know whether you read this, so there was a recent article, and I would ask you, just for the sake of the way that they write, I'd ask you periodically to read this journal called the magazine called The Economist. They write really nice articles. Okay, so you might disagree with them, you might think that some of their logic is unsound and so on, but ultimately they write, like whatever they read out, they write really beautifully. So they had this article where they talked about there is potential now because of the growth in AI, right? So because of what is happening and the rapid growth that is taking place there is potential for a one-person billion-dollar company. Okay, we're talking of one-person unicorn, which in the past you couldn't have had that, but it's a one-person unicorn that is there. So with that, so there is a significant opportunity that is out there, but there is also a significant risk for you, which is what I want to put down for you. So about 4 years ago, when we didn't know the speed at which that this is happening, so all the developments that are happening, we could have placed a lot of bet on the fact that if India got a few things right, it got its education right, it got its infrastructure right, it got its health right, so once it got it right, then our rise towards being an important part of the world economy was guaranteed. That was something that we would have always thought about. Why? Because of something that we all refer to as the demographic dividend that India had. So for a country this size to have a median age of just 28, which is what it is right now, it says that our future is fantastic, it's really bright. But what I would want to put down to you right now is to say that that particular advantage that we had when we thought about the huge number of people that we had, which was an advantage, as long as we skilled them up in a particular way, then it was we were destined to become an important part of the world economy. I don't think that is correct anymore. So there are risks at this point in time, because this, in many senses, right? So there have been many false claims, different parts of time in world history, where they say that this is the defining epoch in the world's history. One of them was, of course, the Industrial Revolution, and now it looks like that this is what is happening right now. We are living in super interesting times, and there is going to be discontinuity. There's going to be some kind of a change which we are not even going to be able to anticipate a lot. Okay, so that is what we need to look at. So what does that mean for us? So we look at it, and what does it mean for us? What was some kind of a natural progression for us, and we thought that we will eventually become better and better, we'll become more, become a slightly more important part of the world economy. I say now that for a lot of, thanks to the technological innovations that are there, fewer people are required for doing a lot more things than what we had thought in the past. Okay, so that is the danger that is there for us, and that is what we, as a nation, we have to sit down, we need to grapple with. The second thing I'll put down for you, and then we'll go into the talk. Okay, I'll just show you a little bit of data. The second thing I'll put down for you is look up any ranking in terms of AI capability in the world out there, we are not there in the top 5. Okay, we are just not there. So it's either because we don't have the infrastructure, it's certainly not because we don't have the people. Because you look at the people who are dominating when it comes to developments in AI, when you think about the United States, you think about the United Kingdom, you look there, the people who are doing it, a lot of them are either Indians or Chinese folks. Okay, so those are the people who are doing it. I mean, of course there are others that are there, but you look, we are somewhat proportionately represented there. But it is not happening in India, so this is not what you can't see. So there are no major breakthroughs that are happening in AI that are happening from India. There are a bunch of reasons for that. People much more qualified than me can talk about that, okay, and can put that down and say that this is some kind of a problem for India as we're moving forward, saying we are one of the biggest consumers of all these large language models that are out there, but are we producers? No, we are not. Okay, and that there are a bunch, again, so there are reasons for that, which I'm sure when Professor Ram Gopal Rao was here, he may have even talked about that, and I don't know, that's not my expertise at all, but I just want you to know that. So what, for me, what is the issue? So I'll take that into account, right? It comes from what I do, what my research is, what I talk about a lot. I look at India right now, and I think that we are on the cusp of achieving certain things if we get, of course, this AI revolution right, which is a big if. Okay, so I just want to say that that's a big if. A lot of effort needs to go in there, a lot of work needs to go in there. But if that happens, but alongside that, there are certain things that we need to care about. What is it that we need to care about, right? So the two big things that we need to be thinking about is that anytime there is a technological revolution, so when we think about, so industrial revolution happened, then all those economic surpluses that were created, the tide lifted for everyone. It isn't the case that it didn't lift it for everyone. So things that were only the domain of the rich, where they could wear nice clothes, or they could have they could have any kind of saving, labor saving devices at home and so on, were available cheaply to a lot more people. Right? So, and I'm of an age that I remember that the quality of clothes that we used to get in India also about 30 years ago, and then we think about what we're getting now. So it did result in democratizing a lot of the different things that were the provenance of the rich. You're getting it now. Okay, so a lot of people are getting it, even the people who are in the lower kind of economic tier, they get it, and that's what the Industrial Revolution did. Right now there is potential with AI to do it in one particular domain, which was usually, so you're in one of the great universities of India. But how many people get a great education? So you think about in India, how many people really get a great education? Very, very few people do that. But AI, and especially these large language models that we're talking about, it has the ability to do that. It can start giving that. But alongside that comes like the big issue of inequality and exclusion. Okay, so and that is what I want to spend some time talking about. So with the Industrial Revolution, while the tide rose for everyone, it rose more for some people, it rose less for some other people. Okay, so if you have the time at some point, please do read the works of a guy called Piketty, where he talks about inequality quite a lot, okay, and the rise of inequality that in different countries at different points in time. Please read that, because inequality in society is associated with quite a few problems that are out there. So in India, you can see that there is potential now with this AI revolution that is taking place, that inequality can grow rather than reduce. When we are thinking, then this is the irony, when we can actually democratize education, we can democratize learning, at the same time we have to worry that the haves will become even more haves, they'll have a lot more, and the have-nots will have a lot less. Okay, so that inequality will start growing. So I just want to focus on that, and those are the two things that I want to put out. And then I'll have like a call to arms, not for the students, okay, so those of you who are here, because you're going to change the world, okay, so that part you're going to change. But I'm going to tell my colleagues out there, the people who are the academics here, say what is it that you can do at this point in time? What do we need to do to remove these two things, or to reduce the risk of the two things we're talking about, which is inequality and exclusion. That's so let me start off. Sorry, I'm covering the. So here are the big risks that I look at. So when we think about it. So here are the big advantages that we have. We are the fastest growing large economy in the world. Okay, so and we might talk about the Trump tariffs and so on. It might shave off a few things. I know, so Dr. Subbarao is going to come here and give another lecture. He's been recently in the press talking about the fact that the Trump tariffs is going to shave off about 0.5% of the GDP growth that is there. So it can be 7, 7.5, 6.5, but still this is significantly better than anything that is out there anywhere in the world. So we have that. We have a young population who are trainable. Okay, so that part is also there. So there's a second kind of an aspect that is there. But the problem for us is going to be about the risks that they're looking at. So what is it that, and you can't see this, but let me share with you what this is, right? So I've just drawn, I've taken, and these are reasonably solid kind of places from which you can get the data. It's just pointing out to you what is the share of the wealth and what is the share of the income of the top 1% of Indians. Okay, so we're just looking at that. And you can see that this is a graph that is going up, right? So it's going up. What does it mean? It just means that inequality has been going up in India. Okay, so there are different ways of measuring inequality. There's something called the Gini index that you can go and look at. The Gini index has its own set of problems that are associated with it. But you can take a look at that. With the Gini index, India doesn't do really that badly. But I would want you to focus on the top 1% or the top 10% and say, what is the share of the wealth that this group of people have? And India ranks quite like, in this particular one, it ranks very high, which means inequality in this particular way that we measure it, it tends to be really high compared to most other countries that are out there in the world. And it's been rising. It's not as though it's flattened out. It's been rising over the years, over the decades. The second, which you want to look at, is the labor participation rate, and particularly take a look at the labor participation rate of women. Okay, no country can call itself developed, no country can call itself developing also, if 50% of its population are so underrepresented. Okay, and this is really bad compared to just about any country out there in the world. The female labor participation rate in India is really, really, really good. Okay, so let me give you a comparison, right? So when we are thinking about it, we are lower than a place like Bangladesh, not considered one of those places where we talk about gender equality. We're lower than Indonesia, so we're lower than all these countries. I'm not even talking about Western kind of comparisons. I'm just talking about comparisons that we look at and we say we should certainly do better than some of these. There are also regional disparities, right? So you can look at it and you can compare. So some of the northern states do much worse than some of the southern states that are out there in terms of labor participation, but also in terms of literacy and so on. They tend to do a little less. And the final thing, which is a huge problem for India, and compared to just about any other country in the world, the percentage of people who are in informal jobs is huge in India compared to the rest of the world. Okay, so it's something, 80% of the people who are in jobs, any kind of jobs, they are in informal jobs, and it creates a particular problem because we can't track what they're doing, we can't track what they're earning, we can't track what skills they have. So there are all kinds of issues when people are there in the informal sector rather than in the formal sector. So added to that, okay, so and this is something when I talk to senior leaders, okay, so when you talk to people in any, it doesn't matter which industry you're going to talk to. It could be IT, it could be automotive, it could be pharma. Everyone they tell you that there is a big skill deficit in India. Okay, so we have so many people, our median age is 28, there is a huge number of people who have the will to work, the enthusiasm to work, but it turns out that when they graduate from colleges, very few of them are ready to work. Okay, so the percentage of people that we look at and we say that who are ready to work in India is very small compared to anywhere else again in the world. So there is a big skill deficit, and companies will say that all the time. I forget who was head of placement here for the university. So there, so it's a conversation that I'm going to have with them at a later point in time. But that's something that employers will tell you repeatedly, that people are not ready for the jobs themselves. And this we're talking about. So we're talking about not even taking into account like AI literacy and so on. We're just saying that people do not have the skills to even do reasonable jobs that are out there. And then at the lower levels, and I'll show you some more data, at the lower levels, we're thinking in terms of the literacy that is there, reading skills, numerical skills and so on. Kids who are there in primary school, in the second grade, third grade, fourth grade and so on, we are among the lowest in terms of achievement anywhere in the world. Okay, so we have like enrollment rates that are reasonable. Okay, at the primary school the enrollment rates are reasonable, but the completion rates and the actual achievement of what they do after they enroll, they tend to be much lower than comparable countries. Definitely much lower than the advanced countries, but if you take about, you're talking about comparable countries also, it is significantly lower. So this is what we are dealing with. Okay, so as a nation, this is what we are dealing with. So this is the gross, what is called the gross enrollment ratio. Okay, and you know, I just want to explain to you why is it, how can you have a gross enrollment ratio? This is the percentage of people who are there in each of these classes, right? Why is it about 100? That seems a little odd. So let me explain that to you. It just means that we're taking people, you know, kids between the age of 6 to 10, they should be in primary school, but the number of kids who are in primary school are a little more than that. That means there are kids who are 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old also who are there in primary school. So what it does mean is that they're being held back, okay, or that they're not being turning up at school, so they keep coming back into the same kind of classes again. But you see how the enrollment ratio just drops, right? So it keeps dropping quite dramatically as we are moving on, and we're even talking about just the 11th and 12th grade. By then, they're already hitting just 50%. You know, so kids are leaving school at a very rapid rate, and they're moving on into jobs. These are definitely not the kids who are going to have any kind of opportunities in an age where AI is going to be dominating. Okay, so that is the part that you need to be thinking about and looking at and saying this is an issue. So now there is a lot of research that tries to examine why this is the case. Okay, so it isn't just the case that these are like unenthusiastic kids who don't want to quit, or they have like a lack of economic opportunities and so on. But it also turns out that we have a deficit in terms of the kind of teachers that we have in these schools, the motivation of these teachers, and the numbers of these teachers. Okay, so you have both of these problems across the board. There's an urban, rural kind of a divide. So we don't need to go into all of those nuances that are there. But there is a problem. So there's a problem in terms of the people who are there, who are supposed to be teaching in the schools. That seems to be a significant problem that creates this issue with what we do. AI can help. Okay, so and this is something that I've been very, you know, for a long period of time, wherever I've been talking about it, I think that AI can help in ways that in education much more than in any other domain that is out there. So what is education really about, right? What is good education really about? It's about being in a classroom, learning something, getting feedback, and learning at a pace that I'm comfortable with. So personalized learning is the best. If I can learn one-on-one from a tutor, if you go back into our own history, you think about like the Gurukula system, you think about the way that the kings and queens and all, not queens, only kings, kings and princes and all were taught in the past. They were taught by one acharya, one guru who was there, and the person would give them personalized feedback, and these are the people who would develop they would develop their human capital to its fullest possible extent. AI allows that. Okay, it allows for the development of personalized learning, which is why I mean, when I use the word, and I repeatedly I use the word many times over, it democratizes learning in ways that has never happened before. So in the past, the constraint used to be the cost of getting a personalized education, getting a tutor to teach me something. Right now, that cost is reduced quite dramatically with the use of these, a number of these tools. So you can think about it. So this is what we will call personalized learning. We can talk about adaptive learning. We can talk about learning based on, like, you know, where people are at the stage of their own understanding of material and so on. There's also what is going on in India, because one of the problems in India compared to like China, which a lot, they've managed to create one language. Okay, so they created, while they also had a little bit of variation, not as much as we had, but they mandated, because they were kind of a dictatorship, not kind of, they were a dictatorship. They managed to impose upon the whole, the entirety of the country, a language which everyone there speaks. So for them, once they started adopting AI, it was simpler for them than it is for us with the number of languages that we have. So that multilingual kind of situation that we have is creating a problem. Though as a nation, we are attempting to address it with some kind of tools that are out there. So this is potentially a solution. Okay, so you look at it. But let me just show you, and you can't see this. There are two things here. Okay, one is, what is the percentage of schools that have a working computer What is the percentage of schools that have access to the internet across the different states that are out there? Okay, it's really, really low in India. Okay, so you think about places like Chandigarh or Pondicherry, Union Territories, they are tending to do a little bit more. They are going to do a little bit better than those that are different states that are out there. Even the southern states, which are most advanced, are not doing very well. Okay, so we are not even hitting 50% in terms of internet connectivity for a lot of people that are there in the schools. Now you start thinking about and go back and say that it's not available in the schools. In rural India, you think about the accessibility of people to any kind of equipment that helps them go onto the internet, whether it's a smartphone or whether it's like, a tablet or a PC and so on, that numbers are really, really small. So when we think about and say that I want AI to transform the way that people are going to be educated, you look at it and say there is a problem in the physical infrastructure that we have. We just don't have the physical infrastructure to take advantage of what is going to be a significant way of changing the way that Indians learn. Okay, but we have a physical infrastructure problem. We don't have the infrastructure that is necessary for that. So that is what I just want to point out to you. So AI is potentially a solution, but the barriers are real. Okay, so it's not just in the lack of like AI models in all these large language models in the language that I want. It's not just there. It's also the physical infrastructure is also absent in India also. So here is what I think I want to put down for you, right? So and this is the challenge I'm going to put down. I think, so when we look at it, and I would say this in a management school, okay, so I want to tell anyone who's doing research in right now, okay, so in management school or teaching, you have to start with this idea that I want to work towards solving this particular problem in India. What is this problem, right? AI is the solution in India, okay? The biggest challenge in India is skilling, okay, so that is the biggest challenge that we have. So I ask for those of you who are operating, it doesn't matter, you might be in marketing, in operations, in organizational behavior, in finance. I'd say the thing that you want to lead with is to say that whatever I'm going to be doing in my teaching, in the research that I'm going to do, it has to be AI first. Okay, so I'm starting, it will be AI first is what I'm going to put down there. It's a challenge that I give even my colleagues in ISB to say that the people that, and by the way, the people who come to ISB are also here, the people who are coming in here, when you come in here, you're already at an advantage. You already know a whole bunch of things that are out there. But even there I'm saying that we need to think about how we're going to prepare people for the future. But the challenge that I'm putting for researchers here is to say that you want to be thinking about how do I make AI first. But I want people who are there in positions that you're in positions that I'm in, for us to focus on and say, how do I develop the pedagogy? How do I develop the teachers who are going to put AI first in the high schools and the primary schools? Okay, so that should be our goal going forward. We can think about and say the best way that we're thinking about in a management school, the way that we serve industry, the way that we serve society is to say that we want to focus a lot of our time, a lot of our attention in developing tools, in developing courses, in developing people so that they can actually go ahead and train people, students when they're there in high schools and in primary schools. That should be our objective. Okay, so as researchers, as academics, that should be our objective. Why are we in that unique position to do this? Because we have connections with industry. It is in Indian industry's interest that a lot of people who are coming out highly skilled. You want to catch them young, you want to develop them at that age. So we want to combine with industry, get their expertise, get their money in order to provide the infrastructure that is out there, alongside some of the insights that we will have as researchers put it together to say that should be what we are doing. Okay, so I told you at the back, for the students, this is not good for you. I'm telling your faculty, the people who are sitting in the front, I'm telling them that this should be their challenge. This should be what they're doing. This is the research that they should be doing. This is the kind of teaching that they should be developing, the teaching materials that they're going to be developing. And second, we should really be thinking about how do we start championing the inclusion of, and I already started, right at the beginning I told you, that in one sense at least what this institution is, it's a role model in terms of getting women, okay, in a very senior position, substantial. I said that is a substantial thing that is out there, but there is much more work to do And there is work to do in terms of bringing women to the forefront and bringing rural, so you're thinking about like how do I go about and how do I help people or I help teachers out there in the rural parts of India, or in this case in Telangana, how do I help? So that is what I would put down for you. So the challenge for you is twofold, okay? I want you to keep developing like various ways in which you can help high school and primary school teachers become better in using AI kind of modules. And the second is, I want you to be able to figure out a way to include women and rural people a lot more in the kind of developments that you do. The choice is really ours at the end, okay? So I think we can plod along, we can do what we're doing, we can continue to be the unequal society that we want to be, we can be, and as Professor Rao had put out very nicely, we can go ahead, we can become 5% of the economy, 7% of the economy and so on. But his challenge when he put that, the subtle thing that he said is, if I'm going to become 17% of the economy, the way I'm talking about it, that means it's going to be a lot of people are going to be benefiting in India. It's not just a few people out there. It's not the 1% that is at the top or the 10% that is at the top. It will be a lot more people that are out there. So that is the challenge that I want to put down to you. And I want to put it down only to the people who are the elites of India. Okay, so when you're all, by virtue of being in the University of Hyderabad, you're elites of India. So the challenge for you is, do you want an inclusive society? Do you want a society where everyone is benefiting? Or do you want to continue along in the way that you're doing? We'll be fine, okay, no matter what, we'll be fine. But the rest of India is not going to be this fine. I'll stop here and take questions. Yes.
So what kind of students would I love to have so that they can prepare and implement what you want?
What kind of students does ISB love to have? So this year we started a 2-year program, okay? And in the 2-year program I did a lot of the interviews myself, and the kind of things that I was looking for, and I can't say this is true across the board, right? So that obviously you have to have decent grades, you have to have decent scores, all of that. Those are anything like that. But what I was always looking for is I was looking for people who are super curious. And anything that you're talking about, that you want to know a little bit more, you want to ask the kind of questions that I'm aware. Because I think ultimately if you're looking, because given the uncertainty that is there out there in the world, the only thing that is going to keep us relevant is if we have the ability to learn at every point in time, and underlying learning is curiosity. So that is the kind of students I've always liked. My PhD students have been that kind of people, but also in the MBA and other programs, those are the kind of people.
How far you have integrated AI into your curriculum aspects?
Not as much as we should. Because we are all learning, okay?
Can you cite a few examples from my experience?
So I can, okay? So so I don't teach as much, okay? So my job primarily is different now. But one of the fun things I did last year, and this year also I did something else, but I'll tell you about last year. So last year I developed a course which is completely online, which is a negotiation course, okay? And it's asynchronous online, where people are negotiating with a chatbot. Okay, so they negotiate with that, and they get real-time feedback. At the end of the negotiation, they get that. That is what I meant by personalized. Okay, so that they can do that. So that is integrated in terms of it has enhanced the learning experience, and I think it is a better class. That one is a better class than what I teach in the classroom. Because in the classroom I'm teaching 60 people, I can't give that kind of personalized feedback, but they get personalized feedback in this. So that's an example of a pedagogic innovation that came about only because we have the developments that have taken place in here. So that's one. The second, this year, I taught because I taught the very first batch in ISB. I came from London to teach the very first batch in ISB. When we opened a campus in Mohali, I came to teach then also. So we started this new program. I was not going to break my streak. So I said, I will teach this group also. So I taught them a class on critical thinking. And this class, at the end of it, me and two of us taught this class. We're going to create a kind of like, a personalized GPT, okay, for people, where at the end they can ask them questions. It'll be like a tutor for them as they're going forward. These are just pedagogic innovations that we are doing at this point in time. So what I'm telling you are we're consuming some of these things. There are classes that are taking place where the people are talking to them about what are the business opportunities that are going to be provided, what is the business case for AI that is out there, and whether people can start developing some of those things. That is happening in some of the other classes that we're doing. But it's not at the speed at which we need to be doing it, because the progress is so very rapid, So I think we need to keep up with that, but we are not able to keep up with that.
The geo-revolution brought the internet to the common man of India. How do you think it will be the democratization of education?
The internet you're talking about. So, first of all, so here's the thing. When I say first the internet by itself, right, it was a slightly passive kind of a way in which to consume information. Right? So I could go, I could look at it. I mean, even if I went to the Khan Academy, for example, and Khan Academy is actually a very, very good example of the way that people could go there and could get math to brain. But they have now started adopting where they can have individualized tutoring, right? So you put in certain answers and it will walk you step by step through what. That is what I mean by, so in the past I would have to go to a tuition master, or I would have to pay a lot of money. And if I didn't have money, or my parents didn't have money, there was no way that I would get that tuition that was out there. So now you have this ability that's there, but it assumes that you have the hardware necessary to access these things, right? So that is what it assumes. And which is what I'm saying is not there in the present. The potential is there, but we need to provide people with these devices. We need to provide people with these things. Smartphone, actually the smartphone availability in rural India is not that high. It's not, the penetration is not as high as we think that it is. It's just because everyone here in urban India and in other places we have 2 to 3 phones. We think that it is a lot higher than what it actually is. Yes.
So we were looking at the dropout
You speak a
rates.
little loudly, my God.
We were looking at the dropout rates of the students after primary level. So there might be other sociological reasons to quit schooling after a certain period of time. But there can be a reason that they were also not getting the proper guidance like how to pursue it. So how will they get aware of such situation? How can they come out of that?
So that's what these people have to do. And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? So the question was that when people are dropping out, part of it could be because there could be structural reasons. Their families want them to work and all of that. But some of it could just be that they didn't understand what they needed to do. So how are they going to get that understanding? They won't get it just from AI. So first someone needs to teach them how to do this. So you do need, so it's not the reskilling has to happen not just for the students that are there or the skilling. We have to reskill the teachers also. So you might need fewer teachers, but you will need teachers there who will be able to tell them how to be using these things and guide them as they move along. So the teacher becomes more or less a coach about how they can use these AI tools that are available. And that, so I'll give you. So one of these these companies, which does one of the large language models, came to ISB with a proposition to say that we want you to be a partner of ours, one of the first partners in India, an education partner. We'll give you access to what our models are. Everyone in ISB will give access to this at significantly reduced rate because they all understand, so whether it is Gemini or ChatGPT, any one of them, they are all understanding that education is the best business case that they have. So they wanted to partner with us, and but at that, see, we didn't go full scale. We're doing pilots at this point in time because even faculty need to be retrained about the way we're going to be doing this thing, about the way that we're going to be teaching and so on. So we can't just go and adopt that and then hope change will happen. We have to have a few test cases so that we learn ourselves how we use these tools so that we become a little better. And that's what the teachers have to do. And who's going to skill them? It will have to be at the universities.
Just want to add one point. This is a very, very important issue. So
So one of the proposals that Ministry of Education has considered very seriously is to generate self-learning models. Self-learning models, teacher independent, teacher AI driven. If we can generate teacher independent, physical teacher independent, because we have shortage of teachers also, that's separate issue. Teacher independent, self-learning, AI driven models in local languages and make it available freely in the rural system. Freely or at a very low cost. If we can do it within a year or two, this can actually be a game changer. Ministry of Education, some of us are working on it. We want to assume that there are very high percentage of aspirational India who want to learn. But language is a barrier now. Language is a serious barrier. If we can do it in local languages and Hindi and make it teacher independent, then I think there is a good chance that we are using AI to our advantage. There is a good chance. If we can do it within a year or two, at a scale, it will be a game changer. The other point I want to make, I'm sorry I have to make it, I'm very, very irresistible. Madan focused on wealth equalization part. I focused on wealth generation part. Let us generate wealth first. The difference is, if we generate enough wealth, equalization will happen by trickle or by some other active process. We can do it. If we take both the challenges together, this is my worry, we may not be able to generate even wealth. Because you are opening up another challenge. I am saying that challenge is there. Let us for now keep it on a side burner. Generate as much wealth as possible by all kinds of methods, proper methods, so that from 6 trillion we get to at least 15-16 trillion. Then I think equalization is the second challenge which we can address then. If we have wealth, we can equalize. If we do not have wealth, there is nothing to equalize.
I don't think it's that sequence approach. I just have to, so it's kind of odd, so being the dean of a business school, I am putting out to you this notion. It's not, so it's never been the case in the history of the world that generation of wealth has followed equalization. Okay, so it's not been the case. And of course, I'm not advocating socialism, so I'm not advocating communism, because it's quite clearly what happened in those places, but also there was concentration of something else. It was not wealth, it was concentration of power that was taking place there. So our best bet, and you had Jayaprakash Narayan here, who then talk to you about what democratic societies do, what very strong governance can do, and so on. So that you don't have capture by the elites, which is what happens in most places. I don't think it can be sequential. I think you have to be mindful from day one about the wealth capturing tendencies of elites.
Sir, I have two questions. First one is the role of AI in research. What is your standpoint on ethics?
So yesterday,
and another question is.
One question is enough. So yesterday I had dinner with a very, very dear friend of mine, and one of the top strategy scholars in the world. Okay, so he works at NCR. His name is Panish Purana. So Panish has been at the forefront of AI and the way that it can transform businesses and so on. So he's done that. But how AI can transform business school research. Okay, so and the way that business school research happens. So of course you think about, and Professor Rao is much better placed to talk about the way that AI is actually helping a lot when it comes to chemistry, in biology, and so on. This is significant. The drug discovery process and so on has become really rapid thanks to the tools that are there in AI. But for a business school person and who's doing, or in economics and so on, and the social sciences, where is AI helping, right? So what is it that it is able to do? So, and what was really peculiar for me, and are you what level student are you? Are a PhD student? Okay. So one of the things that you always have is that in the social sciences is that you observe some kind of empirical regularities. You need some kind of an explanation for that, right? Putting it all together, theory as we call it. So how do I get an explanation for that? So he's created this like lovely app that is there. It's called Theory or something. Okay. So and we were just talking about some empirical regularity that was out there about who contributes to philanthropy in India. Okay. So and there were two kind of empirical regularities. He gave the tool that he created, it's based on certain rules and so on. So he just gave those two empirical realities and he gave a theory. Okay, so at the end of it, it said that it looks like that the people who have been marginalized at some point in time or experienced discrimination at some point in time are the most likely people who contribute to philanthropy once they have money. Okay, that's the theory it came up with, which by the way was the theory that was there in the paper. Okay, so that we had read, we read that. So at this point in time, the possibilities, it's not just about the fact that it can do multiple kind of data sets it can bring together and it can do all kinds of analysis that we used to take years to do before, it can put that all together, but it also can come up with all kinds of explanations for the regularities that it is in ways. So I'm wondering what are we going to do, what is our role now going forward? After yesterday, I'm not entirely confident, but this was last night at 10 o'clock. I don't know, so I look forward. Because I thought our role would be that we are slightly better at the end of generating explanations that are out there. Turns out maybe, I don't know, is the short answer. But I'll afterwards reach out to me, just give me your email address. I'll send you that link, okay? You can use that tool to generate theory for yourself. Yes?
Sir, what could be the impact of formalizing gig economy so that India's economic heights go to greater heights in terms of sustainable growth and development?
So, I have no expertise at all on what you've asked. Okay, so I don't know anything about the gig economy. Okay. So I can give you answers from common sense. I would want to refrain from that. So I don't know.
Sir, I think you told the major barriers for inclusive growth here are regional disparities, inequalities, and the 80% of informal sector. So the solution you gave is educate people through AI. So what are we going to do with the 80% folks in informal sector? What do you think is the role of the growing non-farm sector for the contribution of the scaling and development?
Great question, because the solution doesn't apply to that at all.
Yeah.
It applies to what I'm talking about. It applies to the people who are not getting AI and skills in education in the primary and secondary level. That is the only problem that what I put out solves. What I put out does not, as you point out very correctly, does not solve the problem of the formalization that is taking place. But I think as you educate your people, so that the demand, see and this is where I think, so as more and more people get better and better educated, the push towards better kind of conditions and more kind of formalized ways of interacting and so on will start happening in the economy. So that's why you need to keep an eye out on that. So I don't have a solution at this point in time. I don't have a solution because even in India, so unionization and all of those are not growing at the level that you would have expected it to grow. So that then people can demand certain ways of entry into the formalized sector is not growing at the rate that one would expect it to grow. So it's not been happening. So I don't have a solution to that other than to say that just keep educating people. Great question.
Sir, as you said, AI is the solution in India. Do you potential solution in India? So, can we believe that it will also reduce the skill deficit that India is facing right now?
That's what I think.
Like how? Like we mostly probably see right now due to the AI intervention, people have got lazy. Instead of researching, they just do ChatGPT. What answer can I type? So they are developing a skill in prompt engineering rather than understanding what they are prompting about. So how can we relate it to the skill deficit
So that means they're not being taught well, right? I mean, so that it comes down to that. So if at the end, okay, so let me tell you this. If I ban the use of like any of these ChatGPT and so on in the assignments that I do, and I'm doing a disservice to the student, I have to tell them that my courses should be use those tools, okay? And then figure a way out of doing your job better than you're actually doing, integrated into the job. If I ban it from a PhD class, okay, so when you're writing a paper, I won't ban it. I would say use it by all means, but give that alongside that, give a critique, tell me what exactly you've done, tell me what you could have done better and so on. So that would be the way that I teach. So that there is no, it's not a question, there is no laziness involved now. Because people have to explain what they've done at the end of it. So the thing becomes for us is that we are so afraid of this new technology, so we tell people that don't use it. Now I create exams where you can only do exams in the classroom, where you come paper and pencil kind of an exam. But that is not, that's actually motivating people to do something else.
Sir, first of all, thank you for this good lecture for us. So my question is that as we have discussion of AI, where India is not even the top 5. So currently it starts from small organizations. So what ISB is making sure that their MBA graduates be relevant to this, for the next 10-15 years for these AI jobs and for this automation, so that even University of Hyderabad can implement it. Thank you, sir.
So I don't think we can prepare people for the next 10-15 years. Because we don't really know what's going to happen in 10 or 15 years. Right? All that we can do is to tell people that the only way that you can stay relevant is that you keep learning. That's the only way. That's about the only way we can do it. So all that we're doing is we're designing courses in a way that people's learnability quotient goes up. That's what we're attempting. We're not preparing them for jobs to the extent. I just want one thing I want to say, right? There's a lot of research that does say that this kind of cognitive offloading of things does make people lazy, okay? But I think the onus is on the teachers. That is where the onus is. Okay, I think I'm going to stop now, okay? People are also making their move. Okay, so I'll stop and
We'll have one last question by register.
Very good afternoon. It was an enlightening session which we heard. I was impressed by all the graphs that you have shown, and the most impressed by the graph of 1% of population holding the economy to that extent. I also saw a graph somewhere else on the fees being charged by different fee schools, where ISB was the highest, and ISB's graph is continuously going steeper and steeper up as compared to all other fee schools. So my concern is that are we catering to that only 1% of so-called elite students who can afford the fees for ISB to go up to ISB, or does ISB have any plan for making it more inclusive so that others can also join and they are focused more on inclusivity? Thank you.
In 4 years, we have not increased our fees. I just want to be clear. Let's be clear about it. So the first we started that. Our 2-year program has come in at the same fees as what the IIMs have. Okay? Same fees. Our 2-year program has come in. We offer the highest number of scholarships in this country. 64 crores worth of scholarships is what ISB is giving out. Okay? So I just want you to, so let's put the facts the way that the facts are. And for this, it's not just generated by ISB. I'm also grateful for the fact that a lot of people whom we've gone to and asked for money are giving us money for these scholarships that are out there. So all of this, you just want to put down the net kind of fees that someone will pay in ISB will be lower than in IIM. Okay, this is if you just take the fee income what they are getting versus scholarships they're getting. So when you talk relative, I don't think that is correct. Okay, so that part. We are the highest in terms of what is the top line in terms of the fee that is out there, but in terms of scholarships also we are the highest. Now, that is not satisfactory though. I want to also put that down, because when I first came and what I did not want in ISB is I didn't want people who are like me, okay, so who are coming into this. And what do I mean like me? India, there is a divide in terms of who are, so I'll give you a little bit of an anecdote. I went to BITS Pilani, okay, so many years ago I went to BITS Pilani. From BITS Pilani I went to XLR. Okay. So in BITS Pilani there were people who had done up to their 12th standard, and also people who had done their education in their native language. And then they came to BITS. Okay, so we had that. There was someone who came from Andhra who had studied up to his 12th standard in Telugu and then came to BITS. I never met a single person like that in XLR. Okay, so I didn't meet a single person. Everyone had been to the kind of schools that I've been to, the primary schools, the secondary schools, and so on. It's the same thing when you come to ISB. Okay, so I just want to. So and that is a very good indicator of the socio-economic status in India. Is what kind of schools have people gone to in their primary and their secondary one. It's very good. So my first visit when I came, any institution that I visited was something called the Rajiv Gandhi University of Knowledge Technologies. I just wanted to understand what are they doing, okay? And to me, I would feel that we have done well as a school if people who go to RGUKT, right, they go in there, a bunch of them from that kind of background are the people who come in as MBA students in ISB, then I feel that we have done what we need to do. Okay, so I will tell you that, so straight off I'll put that down. It is a challenge. No doubt it's a huge challenge that is out there. So the way that we think that we can fit that particular challenge is to say that we are high priced as an institution because of what we do in the institution. Okay, so you look at it, the kind of faculty we have, what we need to pay for them and so on. We are a very high priced institution. That we are not going to change. But we are going to go after philanthropy in a big way to say that you give us the money so that we can get in people and needs blind, okay, so anyone who's coming in. The final statistic I'll give you, out of the 130 people who are coming to the 2-year program, 40 of them are there in the school with a full scholarship, okay, so they are not paying the fine. Okay, so again, they're not doing a good job of going out into the market and saying this, because then it allows people to say what you said. But we will do a better job of that. But I personally am not satisfied with what we have now. Okay? So the way that I have this is that this proportion should be true across our programs, not just in this 2-year program. It should be true across our programs is what I would be.
Thank you, sir.
Madan, with your permission, I want to make one point, which I think has not come out well. There is what is called economic dominance, which is what we discussed about. Right? Finally, you get there because of the GDP, per capita GDP. That is one part of the story. Other part of the story is what is called technological dominance, where a country which is not economically on the top can actually control the world if it's technologically dominant. I'll give an example. There is what is called quantum computing. We are not talking much about it because AI has taken over the discourse. Imagine a country which has perfected quantum computing technology in a real way. When quantum computing technology is perfected in a real way, communication speeds will be million to billion times faster. Such a country can break everybody's codes in the military world, in the economic world. If a country not economically very dominant, but technologically very dominant by quantum computing, can come up on the top and say, now I have all the secrets of your military missile codes. Your missile codes, your bank transaction codes are with me. I can crack it within seconds because I have this billion times faster coding computing system. Most of these are not easy to crack because our computation speeds are still slow. The moment somebody has a computation speed billion times faster, this can be cracked. Anything can be cracked. So there is what is called technological dominance. This we have to pay attention to. If you can pay attention to this and do it very, very well, even with low per capita GDP, we can be at a strategic position. This is a real possibility. I just wanted to say this. Quantum computing is a real example to think about, because few countries are perfecting this art very, very well, and India is on the top 5 now in this. If they can do it well and get over the hump, it's a good possibility. Just wanted to. Thank you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, all good things have to come to an end. So I have a big list of people to thank. I slightly changed the order today, starting with the students who have been also very active audience today, enriching the experience by asking relevant questions. I also thank all faculty members of School of Management Studies and a lot of other schools. Thank you so much for joining us. I see the officers from the university. So we have FO, we have CE, we have registrar, whole administration is here. Vice Chancellor is also here. Thank you so much. Also Director DIACC. And I wanted to place my special thanks to the other two deans. We have to call them the Northeast Sisters, 3 schools. So, other two deans, mathematics and academics for gracing the occasion. Finally, a lot of thanks to the Vice Chancellor for his continuous support, and the speaker. So what a feast it was, a highly energetic, dynamic, thought-provoking lecture we had today. Thank you so much, sir. Madan sir, thank you so much. For appreciation, I want the Vice Chancellor to do the honors, and I want the registrar, other officers, faculty, all of us to join here for a photograph.